we pretend to be now falling out down the so that
we are keeping you waiting. Now is the time to start. Can we all rise on our feet for national anthem, please? Nigerian national anthem. Thank you. You may all sit down. Yeah, this is the time to start. We are just going to talk a little bit about registration. We are going to pass a piece of paper around for us to fill in our name, email address, telephone number, so that we can get back to you later. Thank you very much. And now, we are going to call our immediate past president of NIDO, Mr. Ernest Ingadoba. Am I right, sir? Can you come forward, please? He is also our director of events, so he's been working so closely with the chairperson and every member of the ESCO to put this event together. Can we just give him a round of applause, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I could say this is not Nigerian time. This is Swedish time. Because like the word they have, good forehanded means somebody that is organizing. So it takes time to make things work. So I will not claim it's a Nigerian time, but I'm sorry to keep you waiting. It's a pleasure to have you, everybody here today. Firstly, let me recognize the presence of a member of parliament, Anders Ostbel, that out of his tight schedule could have the time to be with us. Thank you, welcome, Anders. And our head of mission, Mr. Leo Mahmoud. Thank you, sir, welcome. Yeah, before we go on, it's like we are all Nigerians, we know who we are, but still, for Anders who might not know us that much, he knows us as Nigerians, but there's a slight difference. We are all Nigerians, but some of us and majority of us are kind of poised to react to the activities happening way back at home. Having stayed here for a while, we've seen a working society and we wish to have one. And that's why occasionally we discuss our democracy that was established in 1999. I mean, when they kind of stopped the military from jumping in occasionally. And since then, we've been growing and trying to build a better democracy, and we're still learning. So it's our pleasure to have you here today to take a leaf from the 100 years of Swedish democracy. And the topic we chose, at least, will give us a line to pass back home. So we are very happy to have you. We will not waste your time, and we thank all Nigerians who are here today found the time to be here. We thank you so much, and we hope we have a dialogue, a panel discussion that could bring out every small factor that we might be missing. So it's not a time of listening to speeches, it's a time of us equally contributing a little bit. So I won't have to waste much of your time. Thank you everybody and welcome.
Thank you, sir. Now we're just going to go into the program now, and we would like to invite Mr. Aliyu Mahmoud, and he is the Senior Counselor of the Embassy of Nigeria, Sweden. He is representing His Excellency Mr. Bukabuni Aman, the Ambassador of Nigeria to Sweden. Thank you for coming.
Distinguished member of the Swedish Parliament present, the members of Nigeria in diaspora Sweden, board members of Nigeria in diaspora Europe, the friends of Nigeria, and distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand here today on behalf of the Nigerian ambassador to Sweden with concurrent accreditation to Finland, Denmark, and Norway, His Excellency Ambassador B.B. Hamann, to deliver this short goodwill message to the organizers of this commendable seminar. The Nigerian mission stands with you in your case for solution to myriad of problems of Nigerian democracy. I join you today to celebrate our democracy. It's a celebration of freedom and victory for one people, one country, and one Nigeria. As with all democracies, Nigeria's nascent democracy is going through improvement processes in the desired goal of mature democracy, a strong, evolved, and integrated nation state to be reckoned with globally. It is in this guise that the federal government of Nigeria created the Nigeria in Diaspora Organization in the year 2000 so that the diaspora can play their own part by getting involved at any level you can, supporting a democratic system that works for all and not for section or a select few, and demand accountability from your elected few. The Nigeria mission, the government in different periods has since urged professionals to return home to give their expertise to the homeland development. We have notable examples of this. Ukwendwe Wela, the current who worked from different processes, World Bank, and became foreign minister, Minister of Finance in Nigeria, and now she's in the what do you call it? The
World Trade
Organization. Aha. Please, we count on you as true ambassador that will fly the flag of the country wherever you are, and commend the effort of Nigeria who have been of good conduct and pride to the mission and Nigeria as a whole. Today, as you continue your search for democratic solution to our young democracy, the art of inculcating a good democratic habit starts from your immediate environment. Living and striving in a more developed society like Sweden should have formed your mindset to have a clear understanding of democracy. And we enjoy you today and subsequently to transfer the knowledge you gain here as we count on you to accomplish that. We offer to give the diaspora the required atmosphere to execute this laudable feat. The presence of a top member of the Swedish Parliament has proven your ability to be solution-oriented, and we cannot but wish us all a happy Democracy Day and fruitful deliberation. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this event. Thank you.
Democratic. Huh? He was a teacher before. He was elected into Swedish Parliament, and he holds different kind of duties and posts at the Parliament. He's a member of the Defense Committee, a member of Labour Market Committee. He is also a member of Committee on Justice, Culture, Taxation, and a member of board of the European Union as a substitute. And he is also, he has actually been part of decision making. According to him, he's actually been to every other part of African countries in the eastern part. Now he's going to be part of us and coming back to the western part of Africa. We really appreciate your presence in the person of Anders Österberg. Welcome, sir. I just want us to know that we have people on Zoom that are joining us, and they are also part of this program. So we are going to keep the discussion live. So if anybody has a Zoom link, you can join us. We can send it around to the people who cannot be part of us right now. Just a little technical issue here. We just need to put everything. Yeah, there we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and it's so nice to be here. Actually, I've been working with Africa in various ways since 2004. Where I come from an organization that is named Unga Örnar, and we are very active in Zimbabwe, Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, and so on. But in Parliament, I've been working mostly in the Eastern Africa. Yesterday we had a lovely meeting, and today, as we are here, we also have the Somali community that is working upstairs. So it's very good to have you here. Actually, from our party, I also want to say that we're very happy to have this contact. We want to continue this contact. We have been looking for Nigerians here in Sweden, so we're very happy to finally meet you and hope that we can discuss mutual interest and questions later on. I also want to say that you're very welcome here, because this is my home. I'm elected actually from here. And it's also here that I have been a teacher. And my mission today is to talk about democracy, and I will talk about democracy in a grassroots level. I also want to invite you to the Parliament. If you want to come with your organization, you can have a tour in the Parliament. It would be lovely if you want to do that in August or September. Then we can take the big picture, and today we will take the very, very local grassroots picture. I want to talk about my experience here in an area. I'm almost one of the few Swedes, natural Swedes, the Vikings, that's still living here in the area. It's a highly migrant area, and I want to talk to you and discuss with you our challenges and opportunities with the democracy, and people who has coming from new democracies, or coming from war, or coming from hard dictatorships, and how to engage and how to evolve. I feel a bit sorry for you in this line, because I think that you will break your neck. I stand over here, so I can also do with the pictures. I will start from the time when I served as a teacher. I can say in Swedish right now, I'm mostly famous because, not that humble, but I saved the government 4 times. If you have seen me in the Swedish media right now, you have been quite a hysterical week, but 6 hours before the government fell, we had a solution. So, yesterday I got a hug from the Prime Minister, so I'm happy. When this girl was 8 years old, she came to my school to pick up her brother. And she came to the school, this was maybe 10 years ago, something like that, 10, 11 years ago. And then when she came to the school to pick up her brother, she said, "You know what, I really hate teenagers. I really hate them. And since it was a Friday afternoon, my colleague and I, we watched on each other and said, okay, go ahead, go home. No, we didn't listen to her. It was Friday afternoon. We thought, we are tired, like everyone is on a Friday afternoon. But on the Monday, she came back to my colleague and said, I really, really hate teenagers. And then my colleague and I, we decided to dig deeper into this. Why is it that an 8-year-old girl is coming to the school and saying that she's hating teenagers? So we sat down, we had a debate with the children in the class, because children, they are wise, they want to do good, and they're also children, they are democratic human beings. So we asked the children, because all the children saying, we hate teenagers. So we asked them, why do you hate teenagers? Well, they said, because it's the teenagers that has done the riots in the area. It was some years ago, we had riots and the entire area here was on fire, literally. And they also burned down the trees that the children were playing in, and they also burned down cars where the parents had the cars in the garage. But then we asked them, what is a teenager? The children didn't know what the word was in Swedish. They just said teenager, it's like you are swearing. You are a teenager. That was the worst thing you could say to another child during the time. But they could listen that if an adult said, you are a teenager, behave, then they thought that a teenager was a negative word. It was not positive at all. But we could feel that was that the children here in the area, all around the schools, they had a lot of anger in themselves. And that anger, her anger, Soliana's anger, and all the other children's anger is important to remind us adults about the responsibility we have for our common good. And that was something that we said, we need to do something with this anger and this fear that the children are having in the area. So we decided ourselves, let's create groups for children and for teenagers to evolve, to have them included in the democracy. Just, in the small, not the big. We are not saying that we are going to change the world, but maybe, hopefully, we are going to change the children's mindset. So, and now maybe someone of you is thinking, why does it matter in an area like this that has so many problems, is doing something for 28-year-old children? Sure. It's just a small drip in the ocean, but what is the ocean if not many drips and many water? This area, as many other areas in Sweden that we are calling förort, the suburb in Swedish, and many industrial suburbs, the other cities, we have problems. We have big problems here with unemployment and the people that are not going to school. And the lack of education among the parents. But we also was thinking that we as adults, and we who are in the labor movement, the social democratic movement, we have a responsibility about 3 things. For first, we always need to think about organized young people. If you can organize young people and give them the keys how to change the society, it will be good in the long perspective. Because if we ignore the young people, then they will have their inner frustration, and sooner or later the frustration will come out and it will never be good. The second thought that we had is that, Sweden, we have just this with immigration is quite new for us. We need to have some rules, how to behave, how to do. So in our area we said, you have to have the right to dress however you want to dress. You have to love, be able to love however you want to love. And you also need to see that everyone from their perspective have their right to talk and to inform and to discuss. and see that where can we meet. And it's important that democracy also need a lot of responsibility. But if you never tell what is the responsibility in a democracy, how should people know about it? You cannot sit in your own room and just guess this is democracy and this is expected by me. Also, the importance of education and popular education. Today is a day when we have the opportunity to challenge each other, to talk to each other and see what is the other perspective that the other person here has. But also, if you meet together and talk, because you should also know that it's never one person that is solving any problem. It's many people together that is solving a problem, especially if you look at it in a long time. We have a Swedish poet, too easy. We have a Swedish poet who said, where the popular education doesn't exist, the civilization ends. So that is the big importance to always sit down and discuss, sit down and talk about problems, and definitely talk about solutions. All adults care about the children's welfare. That's why we also started study clubs, so children could do homework studies with our teachers who were in the social democratic movement. On the first gathering we had, it came 7 children. On the other one, it came 22 children. On the third one, it just came 3 because it was a soccer game. But now we have around 30 to 60 children on every gathering we have, and also other clubs have started homework studies together, because the children need to have good study results, especially really important here in the suburbs. Because if the children fail here, it's so easy to go the wrong way. It's so easy to start with criminal activities. We as adults and we who are organized in the society, we have a responsibility to drag out the children from that one and show them the good path. And that is easy done if you have activities, if you have homework study clubs, and so on, and so on, and so on. But maybe a bit naive, we also said that the children also should be able to decide what we are going to do in our different clubs that we have started now in the area around. So then the children very easily know the democratic system. So we had votings about what to do, because the children said, and then it was many children in the activities, they said, we also want to be the best swimmers in Sweden. And we said, no, it's not possible, we don't have time. But then the children arranged a voting. So after the voting, we actually had forced to be started a swimming club by the children. Yeah, and I show you the democracy almost naked here. I can also say that I'm also the only parliamentarian. I'm actually a former lead swimmer, but I'm also the only parliamentarian that has 3 swimming clubs. And that's because I also taught the children that you always need to respect democratic decisions. So they said, no, you have to respect us. So I had no choice. But it's also important that, for example, now we have an election campaign, and we soon go out and run an election campaign again. But I never promise something that I cannot keep, because people, you know, they are also thinking that the politicians is outside, they promise a thing, you know, and then away. No, we don't do that anymore. They're saying, if an idea is good, they're saying, okay, let's try, let's do our best, we will try. But we cannot promise if we can't keep it, but we can at least do our best. Now, enough with this picture. But it's also important to see that the power in Sweden is very close. Here, and this is 500 meters from where we are sitting right now, the children said, we want to change the school, we want to talk to the minister. So they said, we have a lot of children and a lot of adults that want to talk to the minister. And she came out. And then it was like, we call it a democratic, how to say, court. Because when the children introduced her, they said to her, please sit down. So she sat down very low, and the children were standing up here and asked her questions. So the children must ask the minister from above. And it's also important because politicians and ministers, they should know from where the power is coming. It's always from the people. And also here, like I invited you to the parliament, we also invited all the children here in the area to the parliament. Just this, since January, I had now around 450 children in the parliament, showing them around, talking to them how they want to evolve and discuss the area and how to do Sweden a better country. Because you know, if you're, maybe your parents are from Nigeria, Eritrea, Somalia or something, but when the children are born here, you're counting them as Swedish. They are Swedish. And you will also notice that they are Swedish in the mindset. And nowadays, it doesn't matter, you know, the religion or something like that, everything. You are Swedish. And the Swedish, we are in many different ways nowadays. Yeah, and here is my friend. We had to also play, and this poor guy, he had to play Olof Palme. But you also need to know, as an adult, to be engaged in swimming schools, democratic schools, homework studies. It also gives you back so much as an adult or as politicians. Now I have contact with a lot of adults, parents here in the area. It's very good. And we also should know that you can also discuss with young people, really young people, how to evolve the democracy, how to do things better. Listen to the young guys. And also here is two of the children. We also noticed that the children, they have really clever thoughts. These two children, they are talking about equal rights for everyone. And we were so fascinated, so we did a small movie about them. So they have been touring around the country now. Because we need more like these children who are engaged in the area, and in Sweden, and also have an understanding of their cultural roots. You can have it both. Take the opportunity. And this has been spread through Sweden. We now have 200 youth sections that are working with this. Everyone is welcome. And we are also thinking that something is happening over there with the technique.
It's fine.
But
It's okay.
think if even more adults could engage in the youth and in the children, and also in political activities, what the country can build, what the country we can have together. The problem today is that everyone is thinking in this democracy that someone else should do it. But it's a responsibility. It's your responsibility in a democracy to be active. It's not my responsibility. I don't mind. This is our Prime Minister, our former Prime Minister nowadays. And many people sometimes think that you go into a party, then you will be a mayor in the city, then you will serve in the parliament, then you will be minister, then you will be prime minister, and that's it. But no, we need to challenge that picture. It's not like that at all. He's just one guy. Our thinking is that we need to think stronger. We need to build movements in Sweden that participate in democracy, that everyone is taking their responsibility. The first children that we had now, they are adults, like Suljana. She is now active in the church and doing a great job with younger children in the church. That's great. She's taking her responsibility. So my question to you, a bit offensive, but what is your responsibility? your responsibility for Swedish democracy. With that, I want to say thank you for that I can be here, and I hope that we can see each other in the parliament this autumn. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. What is your response? Yeah, and I have my co-moderator here, Mrs. Damilola Anifowoshe. Thank you. I just want to see what exactly we've actually learned from that keynote. I just want to bring us some few points. He said something, he said, what are the other perspectives? And he showed us different perspectives to democracy. One of them is said like this: involvement of the people at the grassroots. You didn't use that word, but I used that word. You know, how do we involve people in democracy? Do we involve our children in democracy? How do we do it? It starts from home. And then inclusion of the children at young age. Involve them in voting process. They don't have to go and get the PVC now because they are not up to that age, but they can actually start the voting at home if they really need something, and then you can put out an option for them. Do you want A or B? Let them choose. We don't have to be a dictator and tell them, you know, you just have to go for A. That is the only thing I have here. We need to start to make them understand the democratic process. It starts from home. Another point that I just jotted from your point, sir, it says, do not promise what you cannot keep. Very important. We don't promise children, don't go outside to promise your friends something that you cannot keep. It's also part of democracy. We need to change the mindset that democracy has to happen at the top only. If we start from here, from the grassroots, we will be able to build up on that. Even the children, they will be able to understand the process and be able to build on it until they become independent to vote. And the last point I just want to say is said something that we need to build movement. Movement. Encourage people to vote. When it's time to vote, whether in Sweden or in Nigeria, vote. Get your PVC. Thank God in Sweden you don't need to go and queue for any PVC. Everything comes home to you on a platter of gold. You have every opportunity to go out and vote. Thank you very much, and take your responsibility. That is the key word. Thank you very much, Mr. Anders. We really, really, really appreciate that keynote. And right now we are just going to have a break. Just for us, like 10 minutes, we move around a little bit, take something. We have fika, as we call it in Swedish, just a light refreshment just for us to keep body and soul together until we go to the next section. Thank you very much.
Sir, can we meet you? Can you give us your full names?
Yeah, my name is Aliu Mahmoud.
Yeah, you're here representing the Nigerian embassy in Sweden at this event. Today we are discussing the democracy in Nigeria, to say. So how would you describe the Nigerian democracy? Would you say it's evolving, or it's matured, or it's still in the infancy?
Yeah, I can't say we're at the infancy level because now I think we're up to 19 years.
Yes.
Of
Uninterrupted, yes.
Democratic.
Yes.
We may have faced our challenges, but we're improving.
Yes, yes.
And with increasing time, we're improving.
Yes.
And we will get there, we'll mature one day. And with everybody has to be involved.
Yes.
That was why in my speech I mentioned that Nigerians in diaspora,
Yes.
their knowledge gain,
Yes.
different
Yes, yes.
societies,
Yes.
very, 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 very key
Yes.
in improving our democracy.
You made mention of the likes of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who was brought in from the diaspora, and we saw what magic she did in Nigeria.
Yeah.
But these days we see fewer and fewer people from the diaspora coming into Nigerian politics or democracy. What do you think is the reason for this dearth?
No, we have many.
Okay. It's just that we don't hear their names. And must they be like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala? Yes, because we know that I'm speaking for us here now. You know, we need to participate. We want to come down and participate, but you know, for a lot of reasons, we're not able. Maybe people like you can put our names out there.
Everybody
We have
important.
yes, we have Dr. Halima here, who came out with I don't know if you heard about one of her fantastic inventions, the prescriber, where people can actually go online and talk to doctors and they get prescriptions. It's such a fantastic idea, but we've not heard it or heard mention of it anywhere in Nigeria.
No matter the bits, everybody has to do its bits.
Yeah.
No matter how small,
Yes.
one day it will converge
Yeah.
and make our society a better one. No matter
Okay.
how small.
Okay.
No matter how small.
Yes.
Just keep doing your bits.
Okay.
You will be recognized one day.
Thank you
Doesn't
very
have to
much.
be Ogunje Wela or
Yeah. Yes.
let's do our own bits.
Okay.
As we do our own bits, support the bits we're doing back home, one day we'll get there.
Okay.
By God's grace.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, sir. You are a member of parliament. Can you give us a full introduction of yourself, your full names?
My name is Anders Österberg,
Okay.
a member of the Swedish Parliament,
Yes.
in the Committee on Foreign Affairs, responsible for humanitarian and development aid.
Okay. And I presume that's mostly Africa.
No, actually, it's different areas. Most of the aid we are delivering to the UN system.
Okay.
But me, myself, I've been working mostly in Africa, mostly
Okay.
in Eastern and Southern Africa,
Okay.
and
Okay.
Middle East.
Okay. Today we're here to speak. Today we're here to speak about the democracy in Nigeria. How democracy as a whole. How will you describe the Nigerian democracy?
I think the responsibility for developing the democracy in Nigeria is the Nigerians' responsibility. But of course, here in Sweden we want to support, we want to help. We have our aid to funding different organizations, NGOs. But also I want to address that work against corruption is really necessary and no acceptance for corruption. But also to build strong and independent institutions and also have free journalists that can investigate. Of course, there is many challenges for all the democracies around the world. Just check the US democracy after Trump. They have still doing that journey after him. So, but you can also see that the democracies they are strong. But
my name is Salim. Anders, thank you so much for the presentation of the lecture. I got from your presentation that it's really important to allow people to express themselves. So it doesn't matter who we are, even as immigrants, we should allow different people to say what they think, how they want. But from your experience, how has it been bringing different people together? Do you have a motto? Do you have a framework? Or you just sort of flow with it? You just sort of manage? Because people are different. It's really hard to bring different people together. How have you done this? And within the immigrant communities you grew up in, you live in Java. I've done some work in Java with you as well. How do you see the future in terms of building that collective movement within immigrants? Not just as Nigerians, but immigrants in general. Thank you.
Thank you.
I realize that you're coming from all around Sweden right now. How many of you? Let's start with a single thing. How many of you here are able to vote in the Swedish election? Thank you. Keep up your hands. Keep up your hands. And how many of you are engaged in any of the political parties here in Sweden?
How many?
Are you members or politically engaged in any of the parties here in Sweden?
Yes.
You see the difference? And that's the problem for democracy. People need to be engaged in the democracy. For example, here, we have our party. Is anyone here engaged in the Social Democratic Party? Yeah. That's nice. I'm not going to condemn anyone else. What I think is good with the Centre Party and with the Social Democratic Party is that you have these very local clubs. That's a good thing because there you meet everyone, and everyone is different. I would say that the one in my club over there, they know that I am a teacher. That's the main thing. Then the second thing, yes, he is also a parliamentarian. I work for full-time as a parliamentarian, but the most important thing is I'm a teacher. I taught the children in school. That's the important thing. And that's, you're always equal. And there you can, there you have the first bridge to talk. Is this a good idea or is everyone against you? If everyone is against you, you should rethink. Because then you probably are wrong. Did I answer your question? Yeah, more or less. No, but I really want to say that I would say that every party here in Sweden, maybe except one, are going to welcome you. You don't need to be citizen to be engaged in the party. You can also be there, just check, just look how it is. Because one thing that annoys me a lot, I had discussions inside the parliament about something about how to rule, not anti-corruption, but how to rule with good governance. And everyone in that room, they were saying, politicians, they are like this, and politics is like this, and this, and this. And then I asked, okay, how many of you here are engaged in politics? None. But then, how do you know how it is? Because it's very easy to have an opinion about a politician. He is that or that or that or that. But that is also just on the surface. Go into the politics, see, is this something for me or is it not? If it is not, do something else. But if it is, try and give it a chance. But then the dark side of politics is, of course, it's about power as well. Because now we want to win the election. The opposition also want to win the election. But that is part of the democracy. But then you have to respect the results of the elections. And you have to respect other opinions. Now in Sweden, we have a tricky time because it's, we are a bit, for Swedish standards, we are mostly silent. But for Swedish standards, now the debate is up here. We need to also calm down here. We are like US, but 3 years behind in debate. Yes, that's some reflections. And as you see, I'm very calm because we are going to lead elections.
Anders, you're happy to have me here. But speaking on the election now is one thing. And we're equally facing our own election in a few months early next year. My take for this event and from listening to you, what advice do you have for Nigeria? And if I should look at it, giving aids to Nigeria, for example, I'm not saying you're doing now, will not help us, but teaching, sending delegates or people confronting our parliament to make them know what to do to give good governance. Because like in Nigeria in particular, we are blaming the president, the governors, and all the rest. But the parliamentarians are the most guilty, I should say, because they are supposed to hold them accountable by making laws and checking them. They are not checking because they are equally not doing the right thing. So I think meeting you or having a link with the parliament, we could expect you to maybe somehow, if you have any plans, suggest some upbringing or updating of the Nigerian parliamentarians to be able to make them do their job. Do you think it's something you could work out for us?
Yeah, I will not give Nigeria or Nigerians any suggestions because you know better than me about the actual situation in Nigeria. If you would come here as Zimbabweans, I will give you a list. Because I've been in Zimbabwe since 2004 and forward backwards to Sweden, so I know Zimbabwe in deep. But we want to cooperate. If you come to Nigerian parliamentarians, we would love to discuss with them. When you come to building institutions, projects and so on, yes, we are open to do that as well. It's important. We are giving, for example, Sweden is now, nowadays we are one of the richest countries in the world. It has never been like that. 120 years ago, it was one of the poorest countries in the world. But that's why we are giving away 1% of our GDP, because we have a belief that everyone could grow, and then we are showing solidarity and giving away 1%. We are the one that are giving most in the world, together with Norwegians and Netherlands, according to our population and our GDP. That's also important. So yeah, we have resources, we want to help. We also think that everyone in Nigeria, we think that everyone is equal. So everyone in Nigeria also has the right to education, they have the right to work, they have the right to prosper and so on. But yes, that one. But I also want to really say, yes, election is one thing, but the democracy is not just every 4th or 5th year or 6th year when you are voting. Democracy is more than that. So that's why I was saying, your own responsibility in the democracy is really important. Because every citizen in the democracy has a responsibility. And since, okay, one advice. Be very careful with hate speech. Be very careful when you talk about minorities. It doesn't matter what kind of minority, but don't inflict ethnic conflicts between people and things like that, because that one is dangerous. And that one I will say that we will be like this from the Swedish side. We will not accept anything like that. And also, okay, I don't know if you belong to any minorities here or whatsoever, but always try to include the minorities, because they also have perspectives that maybe we from the minority sometimes forgets. That's why it's also important. So and that's the general advice. I will not say vote that one or vote that one, but I can also say this, like this week, it's never easy to govern, not even Sweden.
All right, I have a question.
Thank you very much.
My name is Victor Godechina. Yes, I have a question for you, Mr. Anderson. I live outside Stockholm, so I see segregation, I see racism in all its nuances. I mean, when will the Social Democratic Party try to inculcate anti-racism in schools, like you spoke about democracy for kids, so that the kids too can hear about hate that's coming out from their parents, their bad parents who teach them how to hate black, and go home and tell their parents, my teacher said that is wrong. Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Very good questions. I also have a friend that came from the civil war in Syria, but also now lives in Ljungby. It can be a challenge. It's very far away from Stockholm. Myself, I am from Västergötland. We will not go into that, but we have a history with Ljungby from our part of Sweden.
Okay.
When it comes to anti-corruption, yes, corruption is eating up democracy. The corruption is destroying democracy. Countries need to have good governance, need to have independent institutions that are working and also have independent journalists that also working and always checking and controlling what is going around. I'm coming here from a country with Lutheran roots. Here the worst thing you can do is to steal. Maybe we've had a discussion here before, but our former from the Social Democratic Party leader, she bought chocolate for 200 crowns with a state card, and she had to resign. The tolerance for corruption is none, and also should be, because corruption is really destroying democracy and also the trust. In this country, I'm very glad that we have this long, history of trusting each other. That's one thing that I really like in Sweden. If you say something to me, I believe in you. But I've also been in some African states. If I say something to you, you say liar. And not just that, you also write it on Twitter. So that's a thing that we have. Can I say that we have that in advance, an advantage, that we have this trust, that it's also easier to build a cold country if you trust each other. So I cannot give you more examples about that. But also about this with racism, yes, that is a problem. It's also a problem, I would say. I noticed that this this discussion with Afrophobia is also up now for discussion. Also very important. Since we had this big immigrations 2015, many more original Swedes have come in contact with immigrants, and that has been a new thing. They need to see that we have this country and the immigrants, they are here to stay. It's important to know. But it will be some clashes. You're also, I would say, I have no tolerance for racism, but I also want to see that sometimes you also need to see what is, people are, this is new thing, or what is racism. Let's keep to talk about the racism. But just to keep in mind that, for example, my grandmother, she was born 1924 in a village on the countryside here in Sweden. The first time she saw a black person, I think it was in 1995, and she said, "It's a black person in the village. Do you think that he want to have coffee? Or do you think that they don't drink coffee in Africa?" I said, try to figure out, but she never dared to. But Africans drink coffee. I also want to share a personal story with you. I also know, I've been in the Swedish schools, and I thought it was a big problem with bullying. People bully each other, no one, never did like this. You should not bully, they're all more like children or children. I really hope that the situation in Ljungby is not like that the teachers are like putting their foot down. But then I come to the military in a really, really tough regiment here in Sweden. And then a soldier, he wrote, something about, because, in the military, everyone knows we had some Africans, Swedish Africans, we had some Swedish Arabs, everyone was in the military. And then someone was writing in the, can I say again? I don't speak English, so that is now great. Okay, let's make something up. He wrote on the wall, but it was on the bed, but in the tree in the bed.
On the wood of the bed. Yes.
Yeah, the wood of the bed. He wrote, something racist about immigrants, like he said, like immigrants, they are like some animal, like that. And then, everything was like normal until the captain of the regiment. The captain of the regiment saw this, and then he put, and we didn't know why, and then he put all the soldiers outside, in a big, long, like standing up. And then the colonel came and just screamed at us, "We are in the army, we are going to protect Sweden. If you cannot protect each other, how can you protect Sweden? One of you has been writing this on the wood on the bed. Someone in this regiment has done this." And then the lieutenant came and talked to us immediately. "Who did this? Who did this? Who did this? Did you do that? Did you do that? You did it?" And then the other officer came and said, "This is not acceptable." And then, one quiet soldier said, "Yes, it was me, sorry." And, I will say I'm really glad for this happened, because I've never seen someone taking racism that seriously as in the army. And that was the most unexpected area that anyone took this. And I will say that after that, it was no racism in the army ever in my regiment during that time. Because people took it like seriously, and this is not acceptable. We are defending Sweden. The same thing I would say should be in the schools. It's not acceptable. out with all the children. Then the headmaster talk to them, say, this is not acceptable. Then the first teacher for the level,
Yes.
what the name is in English, don't post this because I will, the opponent laugh at me when I speak this kind of English. And then every teacher should talk to every children. That's how to do it.
Exactly.
You have to be vocal, you have to speak it out. What I think is good, that many in the government is marking against racism. But I also think that we need to talk more about racism in the Swedish society, because the multicultural society is here to stay, but we need also to talk about it. We need also to make red flags with people that are attending. If you also look at our Muslim brothers and sisters, they are also getting attacked just because of their beliefs. Like the Jewish population earlier attacked just because of their beliefs. It should be no go. Don't attack people by their believing in Judaism or Muslim faith or Baha'i or whatever it can be for religion. Just respect people that are worshipping God. No more or less.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I hope this was 100% answer.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We just have 2 more questions and then we have to go to the next section. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Kenneth?
Thank you, Mr. Nash. There was this, in your keynote speech, there was this particular statement that caught my interest, where you said you don't deliver, you cannot promise what you cannot deliver. From your experience, can you please share with us the challenges that comes with that? Thank you.
But actually, I think 2-3 weeks ago, a community said like this: "You're not promising anything. Why should we vote on you?" And then I said, "Maybe you shouldn't." No, but in general, I think it will be very hard in Sweden. I'm talking about from Swedish perspective. It will be very, very hard now because our party, we are used to be, we are a ruling party. We are like. And if we were talking 20 years ago, actually this is also true. I said, if we win the election, we will do this and this and this and this. And after the election, we did this and this and this and this. 2006, the Conservative won the government. They had 106 promises. And everyone saying, politicians, they're not doing what they say, they're not doing what they promise. They did 103 of the 106 things that they promised. I didn't like it at all. I was totally against it, but when someone said to me, they just promised things that they didn't deliver, I said, actually they did deliver. We don't like it, but they did exactly what they said they should do. I think they did destroy the country, but they did what they actually said that they are going to do. And this election will not form a government easily in Sweden. It will take time. We have now, for the first time, we have this right, conservative, kind of nationalistic alternative, and we also have our alternative that is a big mess. Everyone is one day to another we're losing the majority in parliament, and it's like very, very. The right-wing conservative nationalistic is a clear alternative. If they will have a majority, and if they promise things. And if they will form a majority, they will actually do what they're saying they're going to do. So you can trust them in that. But from my side, I think this is more tricky because it's going to be negotiations. Because I would say if you're going to go to Sweden, vote after the majority this time. If you have any candidates that are promising anything, if they win the election in the city, they will do that you can trust. Because that they will be able to do. But in the national elections, I say take it carefully with promises, because there will be negotiations, and there will be hard negotiation after the election. So I'm telling you to shit up. But if you did not.
next question, please, from Mr. Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick Amofa is my name, and I come from Ghana, and I live in Sweden for many years. Pardon me? Central Party. So I like your compliment that you said before, that we are a grassroots party, and that's really true. Thank you very much for your speech. I really like a lot of the things that you raised, and I believe that we who are living here from other countries, from Nigeria, Ghana, or any other countries, we also have a responsibility to actually get ourselves involved. As I said already in the beginning, I'm very highly politically active here, and actually a candidate for the elections that is coming now for parliament, but also on the regional and municipality level. I'll be needing your support very much. That's actually one of the most important things.
Vilken valkrets? Vilken valkrets?
Says. For Centre Party, we have only one list for the whole of Stockholm.
Oh, you're from Stockholm?
Yeah.
Okay, don't vote at him.
Be careful, maybe we have to negotiate, you know? On the national level, maybe.
But I prefer to negotiate from a stronger level.
Actually, the Social Democrats have been in power for many years, and actually my question to you is that you said before that we have a lot of problems and issues in this area. I live here also here in Chester, and I know we have a lot of challenges, but since your party has been having the power for many years, why do you think we have these problems? And you have any ideas how we can together contribute to make this place, this area, a little bit more attractive, more investment, and increase reduce the problems of segregation and all that? What can the Social Democrats do? Yes, thank you.
Go ahead.
I would just say, Mr. Andesh, I would appreciate if you answer the question generally and very short. Thank you.
Sorry for too long answers. Yeah, thank you for being in the party and asking how to solve the problem that we created. That I could say. No, I would say that the Malmö area here has some trouble for many years. Now you are in a coalition, the right-wing coalition with the Green Party here in Stockholm. Some things you have done good. That is, for example, for the socialtjänsten. How to translate that one?
Social services.
Yeah, social services. How you put money into them. That I also think that we should have done before. I think that you have to be careful with consultants because they are cutting and not spending enough money with the social service. But I think your party and the Liberal Party has done a good job there with convincing them about that. I also think that we haven't realized the challenges in the schools. And then when I say when it comes to Stockholm, because people here are changing their minds too much, so we are winning every second election and they are winning every second election. So after this election, I hope that we can work together to build more stability in minority here in Stockholm that can be over time. Because, you know, I can share an internal analysis what I have about just this area. Because when we win an election here, we are spending a lot of money, you know, everyone is getting so much money, you know, the associations, the schools, everything is getting a lot of money. Then the consultants wins the election after that one, and they're cutting everything. You know, so people are like, no, they cannot, you know, need profit is good. We need to have stability. Not that much money, but not cutting that much money. You know, more like Swedish is saying, lagom. So that's my, we need to, you know, fix this here in the area because it's too many challenges. We need to fix it. I have 6 children on my street having shot. You know, it's not acceptable. And that's why I'm also engaged in it because no children that I had in school, I don't want to see any of them in gang criminality. I want them, you know, to be good, do good, have a good life, you know, and not okay, this answer is too long. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, we said the last question, but we have two major questions. One of them is actually about climate change and how it affects Nigeria. Just listen.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, Mr. Andrash, I want to beg you, what is the Swedish plan for climate change in Nigeria? Because nature and culture goes together. And when nature is not okay, it affects people, even poverty. I know that Agenda 2030 is working hard on eradication of poverty. So how can we start with climate change, Swedish involvement in helping Nigeria, Africa to understand the impact of what is happening? So please, how can the social democratic help? Thank you.
Then you will take two questions. So the last one, you take one.
My name is Conrad. My question is this, what's the level of literacy in Sweden? The rate of literacy, so that they can follow the political system.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The literacy is around 100%.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's big. And I'm looking at her, she's a tough woman. But let me just share a short experience. One of my neighbors here in Akalla, 2 metro stations away, she came to Sweden. She has a disability, she can't see. So in her home country, no one wanted to educate her because they said, it's just a waste of time, it's just a waste of money. She came to Sweden, and here, when she was adult, I think she came when she was 25. She got education, she got, everything like that. And then she also took an extra education now in singing. So now she's 1 star in Iraq, and in Sweden she's singing folklore.
Wow.
So the importance of education, and also the importance of believing that every person has, you always have the inner talent. You just need to find it. But thanks to the Swedish education, she now is educated and also a rock star. But she is really Swedish nationalistic. She said, "This is the country that gave me an opportunity."
Wow.
Yeah. But the problem is, it's not enough with reading. You also need to know the responsibility. People, since literacy is 100%, it's just 82% that is going and vote. And it's even a fewer person that is engaged in political parties and so on. I think it's good that people are engaged in political parties. It doesn't matter what party, except one. But people need to do more, else the democracy will fly away. About climate change, I'm looking at her, and the answer will be too long. But I would say it's not just the Social Democratic Party that has. I think we have a rather good policy about the climate change. The problem is to also have the people's acceptance for what we're doing when it comes to the climate, because I know now with the drought in Africa, it's very serious, especially in the Central and Eastern Africa right now. It's also some problems in Western Africa. I've been raising this question for 1.5 years because people are actually starving to death right now. We're sitting here on the African continent, and it will not be better. And then you also have this new political card that everyone scares with. If you don't solve this, well, then you can guess the migration crisis, because people will flee soon because of the drought, of the climate changes in Africa, because it will be pretty serious if you don't solve it. The Social Democratic Party, the Left Party, the Center Party, the Green Party, even the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party, Christian Democrats, everyone has a good policy in general, I would say, if you look at it internationally, when it comes to climate change. Yes, of course, it's some million or billion euros here and there, but in big scale, no big difference. Don't post that.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to hand over to Mrs. Dami.
Yeah.
Sorry, we have one last question from our online participants. And goes, what are the main democratic institutions in Sweden, and how can they be introduced to a country like Nigeria?
Yeah, I also see that we are from Gothenburg. I'm from originally from Borås, so we are from the same tribe, Västergötland. Good people from there. Can we do like this? This is a very long answer to this question. So maybe we can take it in the autumn when we are coming to Parliament, because this is 470 years of the Swedish democratic institution building. So this is a really, really long answer. I don't answer it seriously. Sorry.
So you say that Nigeria will get it right at some point.
But for example, the first Swedish, what we are counting as the first Swedish parliament was established 1435. 400 years before that. 435 years before that was the first time when that was during when we have our Viking kings. It was when the people in Uppsala forced the Swedish king Ulf Skötkonung from my tribe and their tribe to stop the war. So that's why we are counting the first democratic tradition when the people stopped the war with the Norwegians during the king of Ulf Skötkonung. And we also, if you are if you are in Sweden, you will hear about Axel Oxenstierna, who are building the different kind of Swedish institutions here in the country. He was during the same time as Richelieu in France, and the guy in Russia and the guy in Austria. You know, it was during the same time, independent from each other, that it was men. That the men in all these countries realized we need to have independent institutions and building them. So I cannot point out, the main democratic institutions, because if I take away the election board, that's rather essential, but I cannot either take away the totally independent free Swedish media, because that's also an institution necessary. So, too complicated?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's say that this has been growing for 1,000 years back, but it has not grown like in line, because, we had really hard times here in the country as well. It's never, when I talk like this, it sounds like, first we did it, then we did that, very easy. No, it was not easy. It was been like hills and hell.
Yeah.
I'm a history teacher. I can keep you for hours in Parliament.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anders. Let's give Mr. Anders a round of applause. Thank you so much for coming, even if it was a short period. And thank you for enlightening us about the Swedish democratic system, and also stressing the fact that we should involve the young ones, the kids, right from the start. Thank you so much. So on behalf of NIDO-Sweden, I would like to present this mug to you so that you can remember us.
Oh, thank you so much.
So when you drink the coffee, you remember us. And this is actually, I would like to say that this mug was beautifully designed by a Nigerian, an African, and she's Afro-Colors collection. And you want to see her name?
Okay. Afro-Colors, wow.
Yes, Afro-Colors collection was designed by a Nigerian. So, living in Sweden, actually. So.
I need big drop for this advert.
And also, I'm looking forward to that day when a Nigerian Swedish will be in the parliament.
Oh, yes. a Ghanaian Swedish.
And also a Ghanaian Swedish.
Yeah, I also hope that. Not too soon. But in time. I'm really grateful for being here today. And I really hope that we also can manage to see each other in August or September in the Parliament as well. You're very welcome, as we will have this long continuing dialogue. So since they are stressing us a bit, I need to go out again and campaigning. But I'm really glad to be here, and hope to see you soon again. I'm really grateful for the invitation. Thank you so much.
Okay, so you remember when I saw this flyer? It reminded me of my social studies teacher with the definition of democracy. Who remembers that? Okay, let's all say it if you remember. Thank you very much. So for a starter, okay, clap for yourself. It means you were listening in class. That's good. So for a starter, I would like everyone to bring out their phones. We want to start by asking you a question. So bring out your phones and go to www.menti.com. And then you can type in the code 7536 7527. And you can answer the question, what comes to mind when you hear the word democracy? And I don't want government of the people by the people of the people.
The code again.
7536 7527.
All right. Good.
It's M-E-N-T-I.
M-E-N-T-I. M for mother, E for echo, N for November, T for tango, I for India. 7536 7527. Great, we're beginning to see some answers. Some we can see justice, equity, fairness. I'm expecting more. Equal rights, participation, peace, freedom, human dignity. And today I would like to start by asking Mr. Charles Adamo to start. What are the roles of the individual citizens in democracy, especially in our everyday society, e.g. communities, workplaces, and even our own homes?
So I have to rephrase the question because of the topic I was given now. But you said, what are the responsibilities? Could you take the question again?
What are the roles of individual, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What are the roles of individual citizens in democracy, especially in our everyday society, e.g. communities, workplaces, or even homes?
I think the most important thing is to make informed choices, and for you to make informed choices, that assuming that that you are at the point where you have the faculties to actually make them. So there is a baseline that is basically required, and which is the center of what I will be saying today, basically, which is having the right education. When I say education now, I don't mean academic education. I mean people knowing what is happening around them and knowing how the things around them affect them and affect the next man close to them. So having that kind of backdrop, or having that kind of mindset will help people to make very mindful decisions. Because if you don't know what you are if you're not informed about the decisions you're making, or the tenets or the issues around what you're deciding upon and deciding on, then it becomes apparently very difficult to make the decision in the first place. And even if you make that kind of a decision, and if these things are lacking, then the decision becomes uninformed, and it could be against your own personal interests. So making informed decisions entails having the right know-how. Like I said, it has nothing to do with the educational level. Because we did practice things like that even before we had democracies as it were in the format that we have it now. If you look, for instance, in pre-colonial times, what I use the Igbo culture as an example, we had what we call town halls where people come to discuss their grievances, and in such settings they come because they have a pre-knowledge of what is being discussed, and they fight for their interest in that respect. So having an informed mindset is a key factor. That's what I would have to say.
Okay, thank you. You can hand over to Mr. Evans if you have something to add to that.
Yeah, like you said, we have to have a knowledge, and invariably it's not referring to academic knowledge. Living around Sweden, you know, your environment affects your principles. I must tell you that most of us living here now will be thinking differently if we were living in Nigeria. We didn't get it out from our schools, we got it directly from the environment, the day-to-day interaction with fellow Africans or fellow Swedes, or the Swedes. And that could make you think differently. And this includes where in the part of the city you live, the people you meet, your colleagues at work, all these frame your new principles which we adopt now, and it makes us see things in a different light. And it has formed us now to think of, like yesterday evening I was in a gathering of young politicians, kids of 20, 22, discussing from different parties, having their argument and their debates. One of them was all in general were asked, will you wish to be the party leader? They said no. They want their freedom, they don't want to be supervised. And they asked them, what do you think about the party leaders arguing and using aggressive words? He said, they don't even listen to that because that's not where democracy lies. It lies at the debate at the parliament. And that is the way it is. And we haven't lived here, we see democracy in a different light, and that's why we want to be able to see how we can pass it on.
Thank you. Mr. Sani?
Thank you very much. For me, I think the role of individuals in democracy, whether from the family, or from the school, or from your place of work, I think most of the answers are yeah. I would think that as an individual, you should be willing and able to participate. You should have that zeal to participate. If you look at your family, you have children. Are they participating in family affairs? Are they participating in decision making? That's democracy in a sense. Just like the speakers told us, so if you begin to encourage that, even as a father, even as a manager, even as a leader in your workplace, you're actually building democracy on the grassroots because you're encouraging participation. But also if you appreciate diversity, if you appreciate when your children say no, and when your children say why, because some of the things we had to deal with when we had our son. Too much why, exactly, it was rude. But we began to understand that it's also part of democracy. It's good for the child. It's good for you if you can learn to take all those why, and stop saying that shut up, why you say why, this kind of thing. So that's my responsibility, or that's my role in building democracy within my family, but also in the society at large. And that's why in companies that thrive, you see that they have these same values, these same company values, openness, so these are the basic things that we need to continue to build as individuals so that we can have the right democracy at the unit level and at the macro level. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sami. I have a question for Mr. Ernest. You have said that living in Sweden, we see democracy in a different light. But I mean, many of us here have been living here for so many years, and we don't participate in the democracy here. So I want to ask, as diasporans living in Sweden, what is even stopping us, what's preventing us of participating in the democracy in Sweden?
Yeah, thank you. It's one of those reasons why we have this event. You know, we are not the smartest Nigerians that is here, that is living in Sweden, that is here. I'm not saying we are this most stupid, but we are part of the bunch that has been poised to react. Some of us don't have that lukewarm Nigerian attitude not to get involved. Like Anders said, get engaged. We're not saying what is happening is good, but not everybody is sensitive to take action. So in our little way, we are gathering Nigerians to make us think. Some of us, the things that are being said here, we're not teaching anybody. We're only reminding us what we already know. Like I've told somebody, you don't tell your son, don't climb. He will ask you why, like my colleague said. But you have to explain why. If you fall, you break down. If it is, they know why, then they stop it. If you just say why, they will think you're just trying to be a bully, and they will try what you have said. If you give them a reason, they will understand why it is not done. And like the diaspora, we are here to be able to see these little things we know, to pass it to our colleagues and make them start to think the same direction. And that's where that sensitivity, synthesizing the Nigerians or the Africans in general, has not been happening well. We're happy to see one of our brothers being into politics, and a few other Gambians, they have more than 4 that I know. It's a smaller country than we are. But we have to move. We cannot just wait. And it gives me pleasure that we had a parliamentarian here to shed more light. We are sensitizing the rest, and we want this to continue. Like I said, we are not the best bunch, but we are the poised bunch that wants to sensitize others. Thank you.
Thank you too. Okay. Do you think we practice the act of democracy at the community level? Probably. Sorry, let me take it again. Do you think when we practice the act of democracy at the community level, probably it becomes part of us and thus easier to practice at a national level? Mr. Charles.
Yeah, practicing democracy at the community level, yeah, that's a given. And then I was talking to someone some days back about how to get involved or be active politically. Not necessarily politically, but democratically. I mean, we have a lot of opportunities here in Sweden because we're looking, I'm trying to place context now because we are talking about Sweden as well. Yeah, we have a lot of opportunities where we could actually be active. And it comes in different forms. They might be subtle, but such opportunities actually groom you to actually partake in politics on a bigger scale. One of such things is like maybe some of us do have kids and they are engaged in some kind of football, sports activities. They have what they call cereals or something. Some of us own properties or where we live or whatever. They have what we call boosters for any. Like those channels, it might amaze you. While I was talking to someone, I figured that out. It might amaze you that the same structure that they used to run some of these things is the exact same structure that at least the processes that are involved in political processes towards being a parliamentarian, for instance, or being exactly the same structure. It's just always see the name. So being engaged in such small things, they will actually have an impact in bringing someone into into that space. That's what I would say.
Thank you. Mr. Sagi, do you have something to add?
Definitely. I want to agree with Mr. Charles. It's about the engagement, basically. If you look at the Swedish culture, whether you're schooling or whether you're working, there's this idea that they need your perspective. You need to be part of the decision making. So it's a collective process. We complain that it's too much meetings, but that's democracy in itself. So if you are active at that level, it will be the same thing you do if you scale it up. And there's this popular saying that says, your habit becomes, what you do every day becomes your habit. And your habit becomes your character, and your character determines your destiny. So if you start with the right values, this idea of being curious, being open, being participatory, then you can scale it up, and at the end of the day, like Mr. Patrick, you can become the right candidate to represent our society one day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have another question to Mr. Charles. How can Nigerians as a minority group in Sweden maximize the benefit of democracy in Sweden?
I think the key word there is minority, and you have to understand the fact that democracy as we understand it today hasn't always been like this. There's always been a segment of society that's always been classified as minority. If you look at Sweden, for instance, there was a time when men had no jobs or no land, and women and children were not allowed to vote. So such persons were considered as minorities in that sense. And then the more apparent one is the issue of women. Women didn't have, there was no universal suffrage, as it were, until 1920 or 1921 in Sweden. And Sweden was the least or the last Scandinavian nation to actually allow women to vote. And in that sense, you could actually see women being minorities. So you could equally draw parallels on that and say, okay, we are the new APAC minorities, I would say, but then how did they fight that battle? Because there are some things that you could actually draw from their own experiences, pick them up, adapt them, polish them up, and use them for our own present day realities. I stressed earlier that education is kind of key. One of the things that changed the narrative for women in Sweden, at least, was that some women were given more rights to study. I mean, they were given rights to study at the university and have education. And that changed a whole lot of things. And also when a lot of women got educated, they started questioning the status quo. Why is this way? Why can't women do this? And then it also comes for us, though, as foreigners and minorities, Nigerians here. And then the first thing for us is to find a level of integration. It is not a thing of pride that you don't speak Swedish if you speak in Sweden. Let's get this straight. Because it limits your potentialities, it also limits your possibilities. And I would also want to draw a parallel with this women's struggle, like I said. One of the key women that fought for the struggle in Sweden, what's her name again? Signe Bergman is her name. She was one of the very few educated ones. She leveraged on so many things apart from her education. She leveraged on the fact that she could speak multiple languages. She could speak German, English, and what was the other language now? German, English, and one other language, and French. So because she could do that, so she was able to propagate her message abroad to get reactions to change things. The same thing applies if you want to draw parallels for us as minorities now. Well, we need to be able to speak Swedish, for instance, and it's not just about that, because it gives us that foothold to the door. into getting into the society, and when you are integrated into the society, you begin to understand so many things. So like, there are so many aspects that we can copy from that struggle in our own struggle, like I said. And one other thing that I would like to say is that we have to be engaged. It goes beyond saying that we have to be engaged. It's not enough to just talk about things. We have to be involved. And by involvement, I mean, I just cited examples earlier, joining your kids as playing football or playing some kind of game. I mean, be involved, like the society that you live in. And because this will actually expose us to other things that will create better opportunities in fighting the cause for us as minorities. I don't think I've answered the question. I have a whole lot to say, but I think I will just pitch my tent there for now.
Okay, Mr. Evans.
Yeah. It's just let me help you out here. I don't think even that question, minority. We are no minority. The Gambians are less than we are. It's a smaller country. We can't use that as an excuse. It's just that we have not seen it as a thing what to do. We have to move. And we're talking about a colleague here asked how Sweden could help Nigeria under the climate change. We cannot get it this way. If we have somebody in the parliament who is a Nigerian, we will start negotiating from there, and we'll have it easily done. So we have to move, make up our mind to go for it. Some of us we are influenced or kind of by the kind of politics played in our country. Most of us see it as a dirty game, as something not worth doing. It follows us down here that we don't want to get involved. Here politics is different. And an American president said, every father who is not engaged in the politics of his country is a bad father. Because when we don't have good schools messed up by the politicians, your child is affected. So if you love those kids, you have to react. So we don't need to be a politician, you don't need to be a political party member, but react and do the best you can to change things because it affects your family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think that's an interesting question, actually. I'd like to say that as Nigerians, if we want to annex the potential of what Sweden offers within democracies, first of all, we need to build friendship. We have to be friends first. I'm sure most of us here know one person who knows the other person. So there's this cord. If you build friendship, then you can build trust. Anders said it before he left, that Sweden is lucky because there's trust here. It takes a lot to build trust because, as I say, the currency of business. Let us continue to strive to build friendship amongst ourselves, as Nigerians, as immigrants. I was talking to Mr. Patrick earlier and said, I know your face somewhere. I said, yeah, I know your face somewhere. I don't know your name, I don't know your name. And that's some degree of friendship. Let us try that when as Nigerians or as immigrants or as Africans, leave good footprints when we meet ourselves so that we can come together easily. And when we come together, let us, on one side, party, socialize, but take it to the next level. And if we do business together and it works, then that friendship becomes stronger and we galvanize from that level. So from friendship to trust, then we can key into other potentials, other opportunities that society offers us. Not all of us will be politicians because it is great skill to be a politician. But every politician needs the support of people around them. So whether you speak Swedish or you don't speak Swedish, whether you're new, whether you're educated, that leader needs you to succeed. You can see from Anders' story, he has used most of the youth, most of the children in Yava to move as a teacher to a leader. And it's going to be the same thing for Mr. Patrick, or for anyone interested today. Let us build friendship, let us continue to do something like this, engage ourselves, and take it to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. Democracy at the community level. Sorry, can I just use the other mic, please? Yeah, this is it. And then one of our panelists mentioned that the structure of democracy at the community level is the same as the one at the parliament level, which means that we need to get involved. From, I know Mr. Adagon, one of our coaches at the football club, you know, this is the thing. He got himself involved in this, and he knows exactly what he's talking about there. So we need to get involved. We need to get the children involved. It's very important. And then the minorities, we have to be engaged and get involved too. Whether we are, wherever we are coming from as Nigerians, it's very, like Mr. Anders said the last time, he said it's very easy. If we don't get involved, it's very easy for us to, you know, point fingers at so many things. So let us get involved. And then the next thing is education. Education. We need to, is the key. We need to, you know, try as much as possible to get ourselves enough knowledge to be able to navigate. We cannot do this by just going to attack or just to go there without prior information or without prior good knowledge of something. We need to get ourselves well empowered, educated. In, you know, finding information is very important, especially in Sweden. And another point where one of you said, it said something that we can use education to propagate what we want to say, what we want people to really want us to understand, or what we want them to get, what we want to get across. We need that education. Build friendship. Trust comes in. And really tap into that. Put footprints wherever we go. Good footprints. Not negative ones. Things that build you up. And this comes with trust. Trust. And the key into, and this will be a key to every aspect. Thank you very much.
Difficult today is for everyone here. I know the ambassador should have been here, or you have actually represented him very well. Thank you so much for coming. And then we look forward to more collaborations with the embassy. Thank you.